Welcome back to the First Team. I'm Joe DeLeone. Joining me is Ryan Roberts. And today we are going to do some more scouting report episodes. It's that time of year, Ryan. It's the time of year where we're getting these Senior Bowl invites, and we're not going to do a breakdown for all of them. That needs to be clarified. But it helps that the first four or so guys are guys that I think deserve a lot of recognition and a big spotlight to discuss. And those guys that we're starting off with today, and we're going to do another show that's going to be dropping at a different point this week. We're starting with Cooper Beebee and Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. Offensive lineman, tight end. We usually do the same position group, but we're going to be breaking down these two guys. Ryan, I want to start with Cooper Beebee because we spoke so highly of him this offseason. 6'4", 335 pounds. We're going to get into it, but I know that you'll be able to kind of provide a little context on him. I got to admit, Ryan, yeah. I'm kind of cooling off on him. I don't think that he's been not a ton. I'm not sitting here saying I'm dropping him to a PFA or something crazy like that. But I was bullish. I was a top 50 grade for him, and I'll reveal my grade for him now. It's dropped a little bit. I don't think his game has been as good as it was last year, maybe because everyone's kind of catching up to him, and then he's gone up against some more athletic guys.
Well, you know, the issue with what we've seen Cooper Beebe, I believe, is that Kansas State has been they've been paying him a little bit of a disservice, in my opinion, because he's had to play offensive tackle at times this year.
Yeah.
He's playing inside a guard. I'm just like, I would like to just see him play one spot. Unfortunately for Cooper, it's like he's their best offensive lineman by far. So it's like where they need him, he can play and he will play. So I think it's hurt him a little bit. Joe, I just be nice with your phrasing here, because I know that Tom Beebe, Cooper's father,
I know.
So you better chill out here, man. I don't want Tom to be
nothing
hey,
negative. It's just it's nothing negative. It's just that I had a top 50 on him, and I do agree with that. You kind of see a kid who's spatially is not my biggest issue with him, and then let's dive in on breaking him down. Spatially, he was just really good body placement, really good hand placement, just technically sound. And the word I used to describe him in the offseason was stout. I think that he's still very stout. And I think that what you're talking about makes sense when you watch the film, where his angles aren't the same. His body placement's not the same level, and his technique's about the same. And it makes sense in the discussion of him having to go from tackle to guard.
Right.
Your positioning is going to change based on the positioning that you're playing. You're going to have to travel further as a tackle compared to a guard.
Well, and it's not something that he's ever had to do, right? Like 2 years ago, he was a full-time tackle. Last year, he was a full-time guard. He hasn't had to change positions from one game to the other, and sometimes in the middle of a football game as well. So I think that's tough. It's very difficult, man. Like that's something that when we talk in the NFL level, there's swing players that are able to play multiple positions, but like they practice doing that all the time, right? And they're not taking starter reps. They're literally practicing as a tackle, as a guard, moving around multiple spots on the practice field, obviously. And I mean, for Cooper, I just think that he is a guard, right? Like there's no, like, I actually saw someone recently that was like, oh, maybe he could play tackle because he's actually like pretty good at tackle on that level. I'm just like, guys, like he is 6'3" and some change. He's 232 pounds and he has no length, right? Like he does not have length to play on the outside. He is not a tackle. He is just he is the best offensive lineman that Kansas State has by a long shot, and he is able to play tackle because he's a really good football player. He is a guard. I think that he is a very early on starter in the NFL. I think it's a plug and play guy, and I think that we overuse those terms a little bit sometimes. But again, I think I talked about this in the preseason, Joe. Like I always had questions of like, is there massive upside with Cooper Beebe? I would say probably not, but I think he's going to be at least a solid to good starter in the NFL as an offensive guard. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. You need those types of football players. Is he ever going to turn into a Zach Martin, Joe Bentonio, like that type of dude? Probably not. Probably not. But he will, at worst, just be good, right? Like he's going to be a good, solid starter, maybe a plus starter during his career. He's just a plug and play good football player, man. And that's just what he is to me. So no, he's not a first round pick. He's not a guy that's going to be an all pro, but he is going to start a lot of games in the NFL, in my opinion.
That's where I'm at, where I was willing to go as far as to say over this offseason, I thought he was a back end of the first round type of guy, early second round guy. And I think that now he is more so fitting into that bucket of solidified as a day two pick. I really think, and
Right.
he reminds me a bit of Steve Avila in the sense where not like a crazy athlete, not somebody who is super twitched up and is getting to the second level really easily. Feet are average to slightly above average, but is
Yeah.
strong and is really stout, has a really good base just because he's got a wide ass, which I love with guards. You want a guys that just have that really wide lower half. The way that you described him is in line with exactly what I wrote down in my summation of him, where he is I am going to go as far as say I think that out of any of the guards that we end up watching, he's probably going to have the highest floor. He is somebody at the very least that I know as a rookie, I
Yeah.
could throw him out there if I'm dealing with offensive line issues and I just need
Mhm.
steadiness, I need consistency. I'm going to grab Cooper Beebe in the end of the second round, middle of the third round. I'm going to plug him in and he's going to get the job done. And I can have him for an extended period of time, maybe after his rookie deal, and he's going to play at a really strong level because he is that epitome of consistency. I just don't see him, and there's going to be other guys that are going to get ranked ahead of him that do have higher ceilings that can be all pros. That's not a
Right.
knock on Cooper Beebe. It's just we saw this year with some of these issues that he's shown on film and some of these not weaker games, but weaker performances, not to the level that we saw last year, have opened my eyes to that he is a little more. Well, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it without sounding negative because I love him
Limited?
as
I
a
mean,
player.
say limited. Like,
Yeah, I think
limited
limited.
sounds negative, but, like, you're saying
Mhm.
he's limited from being an all-pro, Pro Bowl, steady type of football player, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, how many of these guys, how many of the best offensive guards in the NFL would you say are perennial Pro Bowlers or all pros? Like, that doesn't happen too often, right?
No.
He is at, and I agree, he has a massively high floor. I don't think there's a chance that Cooper Beebe's out of the NFL in a couple years. I don't think there's a chance that he's just relegated to a pure backup. I think he's going to start football games. I actually think Steve Avila is a pretty good comp for him. It's not bad. I mean, body type wise, they're similar ish.
Haha, I
I think
did it.
they bring chill out. They bring a good floor to the table. Is the ceiling high? No, the ceiling isn't high, but it's just good. And Steve Avila, that dependability, that consistency, ended up being an early second round pick. So that stuff could happen still, you know what I mean, for Cooper B, because he's going to go now to the Senior Bowl. And if he has a lockdown week where it's just like he doesn't lose many reps and he shows that he's a consistent person across the board, the NFL is dying for consistency on the offensive line. There are so many bad offensive
That's
lines
the
as a
key.
whole in the NFL right now. And a lot of teams could use a Cooper Beebe inside. There's only one guard, I believe, in this class that I would say has potential to go in the first round as of today. Cooper Beebe is not that guy, but what Cooper Beebe is a very steady day two football player, somewhere second to third round. Plug him in, starter for the foreseeable future for whatever team drafts him.
Yeah, I have a top 100 grade on him, which is a very good grade to be fitting into that top 100. I don't think he slips any further than the third round for everything that we just talked about there. It
Yep.
is, and one of the things whenever you talk to a former offensive lineman, they always kind of qualify it as this is, as long as he gets in front of guys and he's blocking guys, like what's the issue? Well, there's obviously a little more. We try to project some of these more
I
athletic
know who you're
guys
throwing
to.
shade out. You're throwing shade at someone,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no,
not
that's
gonna say
not
it.
shade. That's
But
not. That's actually not shade. That's not. I
uh-huh.
know you're. Don't phrase that as shade. That's not
I
a
got it.
negative
I
thing
got it.
because there's two philosophies with offensive linemen where, and I agree with both of them. Some teams and some offensive line coaches are going to say like, I want a guy that's just going to block and get the job done. But on the other side, the flip side of this is we want to project somebody that's going to be an eventual all pro and that's going to be an elite player for us. I do really think that Cooper Beebe is going to have a phenomenal NFL career. I think I've just cooled a little bit on that possibility that he goes into the first round because there's going to be some other guys that end up lining up a little bit ahead of him. Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts.